Okay, this is going to be a video going over the documentation of the grid system I've made for quite a few tools that I've made in Unreal. Um, the main things you need to understand for this, in my opinion, are UMG blueprints compared to editor blueprints. UMG blueprints are used mostly in game for like player HUDs and stuff, and then editor blueprints are used for in editor work by developers for like tools programming and stuff. Um, I started the grid system by creating a custom button so that I could put in the uniform grid panel of the editor widget. Um, and it doesn't have anything other than a button in it, but in the graph it has some different functions. It has an event call, and then it also has a button click call. This is just to change the color of the button when I'm resetting the values to 0 of the whole grid. And then this is what happens when someone clicks on a button that's in the uniform grid panel. So the modulus here, the value here should be the amount of different options you want. For me, I only needed 4 options. Um, but yeah, whenever you click the button, the current value is incremented, and then it's run through modulus um, and set. So it should never, I guess, go above 1 less than your amount of options. So after the value is set, then it is compared to all the values less than up to 1 less than the amount of options you have. And then if it is 0, which I don't have a comparison to, it's just the else statement of this long chain, then it's going to be set back to normal for me. So normal is just the white default of the button color. Um, yeah, so I wasn't able to find a great way of putting these buttons into the uniform grid panel, so I just copy pasted them all. So they're all children of the uniform grid panel. And the thing that you need to know about this is that it should be a square of some number, so like 16 buttons for 4 rows and 4 columns, but here it's 3 rows, 3 columns, so it'd be 9 buttons. That's the example I have in the documentation. For me, I had like 15 by 15 maybe, so it's 225, I think. My math might be wrong, but um, yeah, it just like you're just copy pasting them in, and then just make sure you have the right amount, I guess. So I also have a button in this editor widget that is called make layout. So I can move over to this. Yeah, this is all the copy pasted buttons. But there's a make layout button, and this corresponds to this function or event. So when that make layout button is clicked, I destroy all the stuff that I instantiated, which is out of the scope for this example since I'm not going over creating functionality out of the grid, I guess. I'm just kind of showing how to store values inside of a grid and making it kind of user friendly. So kind of ignore this. Pretend that this line is going straight into the for loop. So in the for loop, I'm setting all the values of the buttons to 0. This is because I'm not sure when this layout's being clicked, the make layout button's being clicked. It could be being clicked after someone's made a layout, or it could be being clicked for the first time. Either way, I want the default value to be 0, so I'm setting it to 0. And then I'm also calling this curValueChanged event, which goes here, and it changes the color to white because it's going to be 0. And then I am looping through them, and then, okay, yeah, I'm clearing. I'm also adding okay, yeah, after I set the values to 0, I get all the children from the uniform grid panel, and then I add them to the button array, and then I destroy them. This is so that, I'm pretty sure it's so that, like, when I'm starting, when I start this out, it's like all of my buttons are piled up in this top left, and then when I make layout, it moves them all. I feel like you might not have to do that. You might not have to clear the children of the uniform grid panel, but it works. And the performance does not really matter that much for this, at least, because it's looping through 225 elements once over, so it's looping. Okay, so it loops through. Actually, I'm not. Okay. Okay, so then we take this button array, we loop through it, and then we take the index each time. We're dividing the index to get the row. We're dividing it by the width or height, doesn't matter because it's a square, to get the row, and we're using modulus to get the column. And I guess look up modulus and division if you don't understand those concepts, but it's pretty useful for creating 2D arrays in Unreal blueprints when you're in the graphs, when you're not able to create a 2D array over here. Yeah, so I guess that's like all the information really about setting up the grid, and then I can give an example of what it looks like. So once you press make layout, it puts them all in the correct position, and then when you click, it changes the color. And then if you click make layout again, it gets rid of everything, or it resets everything. Yep, so that's pretty much it for the grid layout. I'll link this document in the description because it's probably more concise, and you can, it has like stills of all the important information. But yeah.